Good evening, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to listeners in Guyana and globally. Our continuing prayers and du'as for all the departed boys and girls in Madhya and all those who are being treated and for their speedy recovery. The nation continues to mourn this great tragedy, and hopefully there will be some relief. Also, I hope everybody had in Guyana a wonderful 57th Independence Anniversary celebration, and the 58th year would be more glorious with the abundance of oil revenues. Today, I will share with you my back channel on China as at last night. China is a global player, and there are pluses and minuses to any nation, including the US. But I'll just share with you for general knowledge so we can be prepared what tomorrow will hold. China has demographic challenges with affluent persons and poor persons. They call it downward and upward. The economy is not growing as fast as it once had. There's a slowdown, and COVID has a part in that. Critical to me is the money. 10 years ago, the government was financing all the development, similarly like Guyana, a parallel. Now, that financing could not continue at that rate, and so today, the banks are doing the lending and the private sector. And you know, banks and private sector, even in a socialist-oriented country like China, they're looking for the return on investment. So if they don't see opportunities to make money, they're passing. However, the economy in China is expected to grow by 1.5%, and that will be faster than the USA. Some are predicting in 10 years' time, China will be at the current rate the larger. However, with all that prosperity, 300 million Chinese are still considered poor, very poor, and they are in the agriculture areas and in farming. We all know China has two models: economic centralization, where the party is paramount, and they've loosened up for the private businesses and banked and the major corporations from the Western world. But very, very important lesson in China, the local mayors, repeat, the local mayors, the entrepreneurs, the best companies with best practices are getting the nod and the edge. Whereas what happens in Guyana, with all due respect, the mayors are not being funded, the budget monies are passed, and they never get it. Georgetown is an example. Party politics, same thing. So look at what's happening in China. Best practices they have found with all their years in development. They focus now. The mayor is now the grand poopa. That's my New York, Wall Street language. I mean, they are the big cheese, the one who's making decision. I was shocked. I asked that 3 times and said, yes, it's a change. This is a new China. Come again. You wouldn't believe. That's what I was told by my high back channel on China. That was my biggest surprise. The power of local mayors coupled with the entrepreneurs. And those are the people with money who will do the investment in the area. Recently, few weeks, there's a big ban on microchips. The company Micron Chips, the US claim it can be used for military purposes and artificial intelligence. True. Many products and technology can be dual, multiple, 10, 20, 30 uses. It depends on the skill of the people using what they have. That's not new. It's, that has happened throughout the years. One part can use for a number of years. So that's a short-term damage for the China. But what has happened? Don't forget, the Chinese sent their citizens to study in the Western world universities, and they all, 99% of them, go home. 1% stay back. So they have the energy and they are retooling. Retooling means they're reconfiguring to find a solution for what they don't have with this microchip. And what they're doing, these are lessons, you know, when you listen. China is now using the lesson that Japan took when they had a demand loop and they didn't have the product. They retooled. So China now using the Japan model for them to be ahead with the microchip chip. The US bank have accelerated the China production, but my advice is don't count China out, because they're massive. Massive is an understatement word of production and innovation on chips production and digital technologies. The future is digital. Ladies and gentlemen, that's enough for today. China is making, with all the brains they have in technology, in human beings, in people, in party, and everything else, they're now using best practices from Japan. They're looking at other countries. So why can't Guyana look for best practices in oil and gas from Norway, from Saudi Arabia? Two different, and we have relationship with both. Those are the lessons I hope that Guyana will take, and you can talk to your various ministers and let them know best practices. If China can do it, others can do it, and Guyana can do it. Best practices for the oil and gas in our 58th year, with an embassy in both Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and I've already done some groundwork when I visited Saudi Arabia and met His Majesty King Salman. Guyana is ready. The foundation has been laid for Guyana to make, and they will give us. I even asked, Minister Cummings was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, asked me to get a computerized board to monitor the oil production like what Saudi had. I'm not accredited to Saudi Arabia. Foreign Affairs never gave me, but back channels, I asked MBS, and he says, my brother, anything you want, but just get the accreditation. Let's do the diplomatic work, because in that part of the world, if you don't have the authority, if you don't have the connection, if you don't have the accreditation, things can't flow. So the relationship, the foundation is there. The ball is in Guyana's court. Onward and upward for a better day for all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Good night.